Welcome to NuttieBuddie Sports.
Welcome back, everybody, to NuttieBuddie Sports. I am your host, Ryan, and as a Piston fan, I thought I would just hit on the Bojan trade really quickly. What an interesting trade. I think it definitely helps one team. I don't understand what the other team is quite doing. And I think the Lakers, which we'll talk about, missed out on an opportunity to get some much needed roster help. But let's start with the team that I think benefited from this trade the most, and that is the Detroit Pistons. One of the things that has been sort of a flaw with the Pistons the last couple of years has been their shooting. And Bojan is going to bring that to this team. He shot about 38% last year from three, almost 39%. He's typically a 40% three-point shooter. So he brings that to the team. The trade of Olynyk makes a lot of sense because there was a crowded front court, right? As a Piston fan, we had Bagley, we had Stewart, we had Noel, we have Duren. And that's a lot of bodies for the limited number of minutes you'll have at the center position, or even if you wanted to play big at the power forward position, where Bojan comes in and he can either play the 3 or the 4. He can play a small big in that sense, which I think that's what I really like about the Pistons roster right now is it's very fluid, very where you can switch up things, be very situational. If you're playing someone like Embiid, you can go bigger. If you're playing someone like Bam Adebayo, you might be able to go a teeny bit smaller. Draymond Green, you might be able to go smaller. And that's the way the Pistons roster is constructed. But you're also surrounding Cade Cunningham with a lot of shooters. Well, not a lot of shooters, but another shooter, I should say. So you got Saddiq Bey, you have Bojan, which I think is going to only help the Pistons' floor spacing for obvious reasons. So I really like this trade. Also, it frees up about $8 million in cap, I believe, next year. All the research that I did. The one negative, obviously, about Bojan is his defense is not the greatest. He has a 114 defensive rating, and league average is about 110 to give you perspective. And the lower your rating, the better you are at defense. So he's below average and towards the bad defensively. Trae Young is about, I think, 117 defensive rating to give you an idea. And Bojan was 114 last year defensive rating. So not a very good defender. And maybe it's because he's playing sort of a small ball type 4. And so he's not like overly athletic. He's just basically a shooter. That's what he's out there to do. He's going to shoot the ball very well for the Pistons. Now, the other thing it does for the Pistons, too, is, if by the trade deadline, they're not satisfied with their team or they're looking to take advantage of contenders that are willing to give up picks, especially first-round picks, for these players, they got a couple of options for trade targets for these contending teams. Alex Burks, Nerlens Noel, and now Bojan are all, could be trade deadline options to accumulate more picks or assets, trading for a guy maybe like a Marvin Bagley, who they traded for in the past, some talented young player that is ready, maybe just in a bad situation, I should say, really in a bad situation, and just take a chance on him. See if he has done, like if maybe it was just the circumstances around that young player. But overall, good trade for the Pistons. Thumbs up. Didn't have to give up a pick. Now let's look at the Jazz side. I don't quite get it. And if you're a Jazz fan and you listen to this, leave it in the comments below. By the way, Piston fans, let me know your take as well. Comment down below what you feel or how you feel about this trade. But Jazz fans, I'm more interested to hear what you have to say because I don't quite understand this from a Jazz perspective. Now, they don't want to win too many games, but with the preseason just beyond the horizon. Like we can all see it. We're all excited for basketball to start. And with, contenders really wanting veteran players who can shoot the ball like Bojan, I'm surprised they traded him this early. Like why now? And why for Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me personally. Like I would assume that they would try to hold on to him at least till the trade deadline to see if they can get picks, like more picks, because I think they're all in the Wamba Binyana Victor sweepstakes at this point, which I'm surprised more teams aren't afraid of, by the way, with the injury of Chet. Like the frame is about the same. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. So I'm sort of interested to see how or why the Jazz did this trade this early. What are the reasons? What are the benefits? Not quite sure, but we'll see. The positive, I guess, if you're looking for like a silver lining, Kelly Olynyk's, being a 7-footer that can shoot, I could see him being a valuable trade asset, just for something like 2 second-round picks or whatever, towards the trade deadline. So it's not like a guy you take on that you can't trade, but it is, I don't know, kind of interesting that they would choose to trade Bojan now for the little that they got, unless if they think Saban Lee is something, which I guess that could be the case. Just a quick other take, I guess, is the Lakers are sort of a loser in this. They were looking, I think, at Bojan and Jordan Clarkson maybe to get more talented people around LeBron, AD, and Westbrook. But I don't know. They didn't want to pull the trigger, what I understand, on sending 2 unprotected picks. I think is sort of smart on their part, but if you're trying to make the most of LeBron James's probably last run at a finals, maybe he has 2 more runs in him, depending on who he's playing with, obviously. You shouldn't be super worried about unprotected picks. And what we're finding out I guess what we're finding out very recently about this league is there's a lot of teams willing to trade unprotected first-round picks. So even if you're the Lakers and LeBron James retires and you don't have any of your picks, you could get some of those picks back by trading AD, for, because how far are you going to get with AD and a bunch of scrubs? New Orleans didn't get very far. Lakers probably wouldn't get very far. So you could trade him for a bunch of unprotected picks. So to hold on to unprotected picks, kind of silly in this day and age, just considering how often they get traded. But maybe I'm wrong. With that, that's all I have on this trade. Good for the Pistons. I'm confused about the Jazz. I just think it's a little bad for the Lakers just because I think the Lakers really wanted him. I think he would have worked perfect with AD and LeBron being getting wide open shots, just like any pure shooter would. It's just basically like if you're open, you're going to make it most of the time. So anyway, that's all I got, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and find me in the podcast feed, NuttieBuddie Sports. We just recently recapped week 2 of the NFL season. We talked about some hot takes, and then we predict week 3 of the NFL schedule. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Hopefully you enjoyed this. We'll talk to you guys soon.